Hello again, everybody. This is Below the 38th, episode 52. It's a K-League 1, K-League 2 bumper special. I'm Andrew, joined by Luke, and we're doing this as a combined K-League 1, K-League 2 because Mike is still off on vacation. Hi, Luke. Your tan is still looking great.
Thank you. I'm surprised. It's been like 3 or 4 days since I got off a plane now, and normally it's disappeared by now. Hopefully it lasts until the weekend. I'm sure once I take a shower, it'll be gone.
So you can find Luke at From the Tanning Bed, and you'll see lots of photographs of him defacing some of the most beautiful architectural spots all over the South Mediterranean. It is time for K-League 1 and K-League 2. You haven't been to a match since...
It would have been whatever the last inch on home game was that I went to. I think it was... Oh, you put me on the spot now. Was it Anyang? Was it possibly Anyang at home that was my last game?
That seems like a while ago. Yeah, was there no other matches after that? Yeah, okay. Must be dying to get back into it. You are going to tell us all about your weekend plans later on, so we'll keep the suspense until then.
I'm sure people can guess. Okay, before we get started, please remember to check out our social media accounts. It's at Below the 38th on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. Our website, belowthe38thcareer.com, has a lot of new articles going up. There's a few more that Andrew has posted in recent days about the Kupang series, and we're going to have previews going up for this weekend's football if you prefer to read rather than listen. Okay, so we start this week on Saturday, K-League 1. All of the games are at 7:30. Andrew, where are we starting on Saturday?
It's a tough one. I decided to go with the Jeju Anyang game. That is, I think the games are evenly split, aren't they, between Saturday and Sunday? There should be 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. Jeju and Anyang actually swapped places last weekend, which was a little bit of a surprise because Jeju had started the season so badly and they almost went down last season, but they're now up to 5th. An unbelievable run of results for Jeju SK. Anyang dropped down to 6th after flirting with the idea of going into the top 3 when they took the lead against Ulsan a couple of weeks ago. They've since lost 2 in a row, and that has seen them drop down to, as I said, 6th spot. Jeju haven't lost since May, and that result was actually against Anyang at home. But Anyang have beaten Jeju 4 of the 5 times that they've met in K-League 1, and they did secure their K-League 1 status in Sogopo last year. But Jeju, unbeaten since May, that is 7 matches without a loss. If you're looking for home form, away form, and maybe how this game could work out, Anyang have the 3rd best away record in the league, because you're thinking, oh, they might pick up something here. And Jeju, of course, have the 5th best home record in the league. So this is a really tough game to call. Form goes with Jeju. History goes with, I think, at least a draw. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in a draw because of Anyang's away form. But yeah, Jeju riding high at the moment. And just as a quick note, these two sides will also play against each other next midweek in the Cup, but in Anyang this time. So they're going to meet each other twice in the space of about 4 days.
Very good. I've gone for another game that's quite tricky to predict, and I've gone for Gwangju versus Pohang here. Gwangju obviously bottom of the league and have been all season. Pohang are bottom of the form table. They were riding high until it all went wrong. They've now lost 5 in a row, which is a worse turnout, a worse record than Gwangju's last 5 games. Gwangju have 3 points from 3 draws in their last 5 games. Interestingly, these two teams played in the middle of July, and it ended 3-0 to Pohang in this exact same fixture down in Gwangju. I don't imagine it's going to be the same. Gwangju seem to be clicking. Their new signings have settled in. It will be very interesting to see how it goes. Pohang have the better head-to-head record. Obviously, they've won like 22 games to Gwangju's 4. But on recent form, and for how Gwangju's new signings have settled, I can see Gwangju getting their 2nd win of the year. Don't quote me on it. Don't bring it back to me. Don't put any money on it. But I just have a feeling that it might be time for Gwangju to get another win. And if you're going to beat anybody, Pohang would be the team for you to beat this week.
Yeah, they need to add to that solitary victory against Incheon United from the 2nd weekend of the season.
I can't wait until they win again. They need to beat somebody else just for my own sanity.
It's funny as well because Gwangju, I know some people are following them this season, and the fans were really, really peeved, shall we say, with the performance against Daejeon away. But then, as I was saying on the weekend, there was they were really encouraged by the performance in Bucheon. And now they return home. So yeah, and that Pohang game that you're talking about, the one that they won, of course, that was straight after the World Cup, and suddenly we're talking about Pohang as potential K-League title challengers, and now they've just lost a rake of matches in a row since then. Just an unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the fall that they've had. I mean, we were talking about them challenging for the title a few weeks ago, and just to lose 5 from 5 is crazy for a team like that, and it just shows like how important the players are that they've lost, and just when confidence has gone, form definitely goes out the window.
And so does the roof of the stadium. Well, let's move on then to the league leaders at the moment. FC Seoul, they are first against Daejeon Hana Citizen. They are ninth. I don't think anybody would have expected those two sides, certainly Daejeon, to be in that position at this point of the season after how they fared last year. But Daejeon do come into this with a bit of form. Just takes 2 wins in a row for you to be in good form in K-League 1. That's how often sides are dropping points. Just like Seoul, they haven't won a game in 3 matches, picked up 2 draws in that run, but they're still 7 points clear. Like we were saying earlier on this week, they're fortunate that the team that's chasing them at the moment is a team that was so far behind them only a month ago, so that the gap of 7 points is still pretty sizable for Seoul at this point in the season. But the pressure is on. And I remember reading something after the game against Pohang when they beat Pohang that like surely they can't mess it up from here. And since then, they've kind of been going around messing it up since then. So they just simply can't afford to lose this game. FC Seoul need to pick up points just to relieve some of that pressure because it is beginning to build. They do have a really good home record, but Daejeon are decent enough away from home. If you want to be title contenders, and FC Seoul do, you have to be beating an all-season out of sorts Daejeon Hana Citizen. I expect Seoul to turn on the style this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Seoul as well, like they had the cushion of being 10 points clear, and obviously other teams around them have been winning and drawing and dropping points along with them. But I think if Ulsan keep up their form and Seoul keep dropping points, I think we might actually have a title race again. I think we were talking about champions elect. I think the way that Seoul have come off the rails the last 3 games, you never know. We might actually have a title race come September, but hopefully we'll see. Now, moving into Sunday. Sunday's game's also at 7:30. I'm going to start with Incheon versus Gimcheon. Incheon have beaten Gimcheon twice already this year. They beat them in the home game for Incheon earlier in the season, and then in spring they won 3-0 down in Gimcheon. Gimcheon have improved recently. In fact, Incheon and Gimcheon both have the same form record from the last 5 games: 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 solitary loss each. Incheon didn't play last weekend though due to Gangwon's Champions League efforts, which means Incheon probably have fresher legs, and given how the weather is now, you would take that. It's going to be a very interesting game. Gimcheon's defense is improving. They've kept 2 clean sheets now in the last 2 games against Pohang and Seoul, which in anybody's books is quite impressive. So yeah, we'll have to see how this goes. It will be interesting to see how fitness levels go, given that Incheon have had a week off. Gimcheon have had some tough games coming up to Incheon. They would hope to win, but Incheon 2 from 2 against them this year. Hopefully going to be a 3 out of 3 success.
It's a weird time in the season for Gimcheon as well, because they just announced a raft of incoming players, and there's obviously some players who are now going to be leaving just before they're faced with automatic relegation, no matter how they finish in the title race, so or the overall K-League 1 season. So yeah, it's always a strange moment for them. It's not like the transfer window applies to other clubs where you might bring in 2 or 3 players and let go 2 or 3 players. They're basically just losing half a team and then just bring in half a team then after that. So who knows what sort of an impact this is going to have on them either this weekend or the rest of the season. It's just unprecedented. I know it happens every single season, so I guess it isn't, but it only applies to this one club, and everybody only shares this experience once, basically, of arriving once and then leaving once. So like they're all basically looking at this, experiencing this for the very first time and for the only time in their career as well.
It's interesting as well because for the players who are leaving, like it could be the last game that they play and they're going back to their owner clubs, so they probably don't want to risk injury. The new players coming in, they know that basically there's not much to play for this season anyway. They're probably not going to be wanting to get injured. They might be thinking of their careers as well going forward. And some of the players that they've brought in are quite surprising. It's not like they've picked up all of the best young players from K-League 1 clubs like they have done in previous years. They've got quite a few K-League 2 players coming into their squad, and I don't know if that's a deliberate decision based on what's going to be happening next year. But yeah, the intake this year isn't as strong as it has been in previous years for Gimcheon. So we'll have to see how the players settle, how quickly they settle, and how effective they are in forming a team and forming like a squad structure, a familiarity for playing out the rest of the season.
Staying Sunday, staying 7:30, a meeting of the powerhouse Bucheon FC 1995. They've only taken 4 points from a possible 6 off Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors this season. They did unfortunately draw one match there with them, but they'll be hoping to go unbeaten against Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors this weekend. Jeonbuk fans are in revolt again. I don't know if any of you saw the video from the weekend where the manager was told to naga or get out by irate fans. They're third in the championship. They won the League and Cup double last season. When things are bad in Jeonbuk or Jeonju, it normally means that they're second or third in the championship. So the fans are angry yet again. They were beaten 3-1 at home by Jeju at the weekend. But they're playing against the Bucheon side, who have an absolutely shocking home record. They've won just once all season. I was there for that. They should bring me back for more matches. That was against Pohang Steelers as well. But it's like the opposite of that Jeju Anyang game. You're like, okay, this is a team with a good home record against a team with a good away record. Bucheon's home record is terrible, and Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors' away record is not very good either. But you would think that at some point Jeonbuk simply have to turn on the style and pick up some points. They are 10 points adrift of FC Seoul, who are doing them favors week on week on week, and they're not able to capitalize on that. Bucheon at the moment are 11th. They're only 11th on goals scored, so realistically they can't compete for 9th, but anything above 12 represents a successful season for Bucheon. They're already not going to finish 12th because Gwangju is so far adrift, and now they're just simply looking up the table. How high can they finish? If they finish 11th, so what? They're going to be safe for next season, but they should be aiming for 9th or 10th, and a good way to start that will be beating the defending League and Cup champions this weekend. I still see Jeonbuk winning this though.
Yeah, and I think as well, interestingly, with all of the teams coming up from K-League 2 next year, it's not quite been decided how relegation and promotion will work going forward after this season. So we might be in a situation next year where we go back to having one automatic relegation spot and 2 playoffs. And so when you've got teams coming up from K-League 2 who might not be as strong, and Bucheon have had a year to acclimatise, you might see Bucheon pushing on next year, kind of how Anyang have done, and picking up results and not having to worry too much about the drop, because Bucheon are a fairly well-run club, and if they can solidify this season, finish 10th or 9th, then they have the opportunity to bring in a few experienced players. And then if you have the likes of Seoul Eland or Hwasun coming up next year who are new to K-League 1, they'd realistically be favourites to go straight back down. So yeah, Bucheon, they're not going down this season. It's been a great year for them, even if they've not picked up as many wins as they would hope. But yeah, they're definitely not in trouble, and they can definitely spend more time looking up than looking down.
Indeed.
Yeah, our last Sunday game, our last K-League 1 game, is Ulsan in second against Gangwon in fourth. Now, the 2 stories within this fixture. The first one being that Ulsan are on an absolute storm of a run at the minute. They've won 3 in a row. They've scored 8 goals in those 3 games. And they've gone from being 5th and struggling to being up to 2nd and potentially challenging Seoul. That is the way that the league goes with form. Gangwon, on the other hand, they didn't play against Incheon last week because of their ACL-E playoff game with Gamba Osaka, which they lost in extra time, which means they played 120 minutes on Wednesday night in the dreadful Korean summer. How much energy are they going to have when they go down to Ulsan this weekend? It's going to be a very tough game for them. They've been on a 4-game losing streak as well, including that ACLE game. So it's been a tough time in the league. It's been a tough time in the Champions League. And Ulsan are playing really, really well. With Gangwon's lack of squad depth, I think this could be the game that kind of puts the nail in any aspirations for the title that Gangwon might have. And also, depending on how results go with Seoul and Daejeon, it could see us having Ulsan back as genuine title contenders. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's not like I think yeah, it's Gangwon have been overachieving for a number of years now, and they're still going to overachieve this season as well. But I'd say that title race over. Just as you were saying that, I was just bringing up Yago's stats.
They're very good to watch
because we're
as well.
just I was going to say because yeah, yeah, some gremlins in the system here. I just I lost a little bit of what you're saying there, but yeah, they have been great. They've been great to watch for the last couple of seasons actually since 2024. But Iago Corello, we were talking about him on the midweek, the weekend review podcast. He played for Team K League against Manchester City as well. I knew he was on form, but I hadn't kind of gone to the effort of checking how significant his form was. He scored a goal in the last 3 games in a row. And 2 games before that, he didn't find the back of the net, but the 2 games before that, he did. So he scored 5 from the last 7 matches. And just listen back to Monday's podcast. We'll just kind of break down a little bit more of how much of a threat he is. He's just lethal at the moment. Power, pace, physicality, everything. He's unplayable at the moment, Iago Corello. So keep an eye out for him. That Gangwon result was interesting against Osaka. The draw, I think, is next week. It's about 7 days from now, I think. So we'll probably mention this on a podcast next week when the draw is announced, because now there's only 3 Korean sides in the AFC Champions League Elite, but 2 sides, Gangwon and FC Seoul, I think it is, are in the secondary competition. So it's also interesting that 2 of the 3 sides who are in the AFC Elite are both in the bottom half of the table this year. It's funny how it works like that, because the Korean season obviously isn't matched up with the AFC season, so you're just never really sure how the teams are going to do when the competition comes around. But yeah, I expect Ulsan to win that, and I don't have any great affection for Ulsan. I don't care too much about Gangwon either way, but I think just for the sake of a title race, it'd be nice to see Ulsan win that game, just to keep that pressure on Seoul and make sure we don't have a foregone conclusion like we had last season.
Okay, and that's K League 1 done.
Yes, thank God, says Mike from his I don't know where he is at this point, somewhere in North America, hiding from Ansan Greener's results. The good news for Mike and any other Ansan Greener's fans listening is we're not really going to mention them on the podcast this week. We've decided that from now on, with a 6-team race, it's a title race involving 6 different teams in KD2, there just isn't enough time to discuss all the other sides that are in the division. So we're basically just keeping this to the top 6, plus the couple of sides who are just outside that, but very much in the playoff picture. Do you want to get the ball rolling on K-League 2?
Yeah, okay. Well, the first 2 games we're going to let you know about. It's Cheongbuk Cheongju in 14th against Jeonnam Dragon in 16th. Neither team has anything to play for. There's no relegation. They're not going to make playoffs. It's probably going to be a draw because Cheongbuk only draw. Gimhae at bottom of the league, and they're playing Gyeongnam. It's kind of a local derby. Gyeongnam are in 9th. They probably even don't have anything to play for at this stage of the season either. Gimhae aren't going down. Not much going on in that game either. The first game of interest is Busan versus Hwasong. Now, Busan are 4th now. They were previously top and sailing away. They're playing Hwasong in 6th, and it's a very important game for both clubs. Hwasong won the reverse fixture 3-2, and they're unbeaten in the last 4. They've won 3 of those 4 games, and they're doing really well. Busan losing 4 out of 4. They are dropping down the league, and this is a game where if either team loses, it could be curtains for them. Hwasong can actually go above Busan with a win, whereas if Busan win, they could be a point off the top if results go their way. Neither team will want to lose. Busan definitely can't afford to lose if they want to challenge for the title. And Hwasong, honestly, they have it in them to go to Busan and win. So that should be a very exciting game, and the way that Hwasong are playing good attacking football, you won't put it past them to go and cause Busan some problems.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And like Busan's schedule for the rest of the month is dire. I think they have Hwasong at home, and then they have Daegu away and Suwon FC away. So from being top of the table, they're very much looking at a case where they're just going to be out of the championship race altogether, out of the top three race altogether. It's very, very possible by the end of this month.
Absolutely.
Because their form is dreadful. They don't have a particularly deep squad. They don't have a great squad, and everybody else is just, I think, up there at that end of the table is just better than they are. So yeah, I think the writing is on the wall now for Busan at this point. Still been a good season, but the fans are not going to look back on this as a success. They're going to say, how did we manage to blow the advantage that we had?
Yeah.
Also on Saturday, a game of minor importance at Big Bird is the first ever K-League 2 derby at the Suwon World Cup Stadium. It's Suwon Samsung Blue Wings in first against Suwon FC in third. I was at the reverse fixture this in May. The Blue Wings were 1-0 up at halftime and got toyed with in the second half. They eventually lost the game 3-1, but it was a comprehensive 3-0 battering in the end for Suwon FC, who have a great record against the Blue Wings. I'd imagine much to the embarrassment of the people associated with Suwon Samsung. Suwon FC have won 10 and only lost 6 of the total matches they played against the Blue Wings. And the Blue Wings have not beaten Suwon FC at home since 2022, although there was, of course, a period of time when the Blue Wings were in the second division and Suwon FC were in the top division. But Suwon FC are now 7 unbeaten, which is a fine run of form. They also have the third best away record in the league, and they go to the team with the second best home record in the league. But as I've been saying all season long, the performances are not there, and the results are not always there for the Blue Wings. But you know what is there? It's the post-match celebrations. What they're really, really nailing at the moment are bringing the family and everybody out onto the pitch when they beat the 29th best team out of 29 in professional football in Korea. Just bring them all out for that 1-0 win against Gimhae. So they're excelling at post-match celebrations. Their performances have been dreadful for almost the entirety of the season, but somehow, out of nowhere, they've just crawled into top spot. And I expect the Blue Wings to win this just because their record against the other promotion candidates has been good all season, with the exception of that one very damaging defeat in Castle Park earlier on the season. The problem for Suwon is not when they're playing against the likes of Suwon FC or Seoul Leland or Busan. It's when they play the likes of Cheonan, Cheongnam Asan, and Cheonbuk Cheongju. So it should be good. I expect a big crowd from the home section, but I have been at this fixture many times before. There's 3.3 kilometers between the two stadiums, and you could pretty much, you could almost count in one hand how many away fans are there. So I hope Suwon FC bring a big fan base, big fan group with them this weekend, but I don't expect them to.
Yeah, it would be disappointing with so much on the line in this game and with so much potential for both teams this season. Like, turn up, support your team. I've always wondered if there's an element of Suwon FC's fans who are actually Blue Wings fans who just go and want to watch football, and when Suwon Blue Wings are away and they can't get a ticket, they just go to Suwon FC. I do wonder if some of it's that.
I also think as well, like Suwon's not a big town. It only has about 1 million people, and it's the only city in the country, with the exception of Seoul, but Seoul's obviously the biggest city, so you can kind of forget about Seoul, but there's 3 professional teams in these kind of summer sports in that city, and it just seems like they can't justify 3 of them. So the Blue Wings, KT Wiz of KBO, and then Suwon FC. And I know 1 million people, you could look at examples all over Europe of having 4 professional teams in the top 2 flights, but it just doesn't operate like that over here. And they really feel like, they really feel like the youngest child out of the 3 in that family. So that's why I think their form or their results up until they got their relegation last year is so impressive, given the fact that they're up against it. Like, they are a classic K-League underdog, and they might go straight back up again this year.
Okay, now looking at Sunday's fixtures, we start with Daegu in 5th against Cheongnam Asan in 8th. Daegu won this game earlier in the season. They won 3-2 away at Cheongnam Asan. But Cheongnam Asan actually have the better record overall. They've won 6 games to Daegu's 5 in this head-to-head. Now, we wouldn't forget that Daegu won the relegation playoff in 2004 on aggregate against Cheongnam Asan. That was a great game, a great set of fixtures. Cheongnam won the first game, and then Daegu won the second leg 3-1 to win overall. Daegu are up to 5th in the league, but they've lost recently to Suwon FC and to Hwasong. They won last week late on, and they need a win again to keep pace with the teams above them. given that it's the Suwon Derby and Hwasong played Busan, if they did get a win, they could move as high as third. If they lose, then other teams are waiting to jump over them. It'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, it will be. And having visited Daegu not too long ago, a little bit like the Blue Wings at certain points this season, and Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors recently, there's a lot of boos. A lot of people are angry at what they were watching, but they did pick up a massive 3 points last weekend, especially when it comes so late in the game, like the 94th minute or something. You can just imagine they're probably 60 seconds away from hurling 10 or 15 minutes of abuses. The players come over and bow in front of them, and yet, because of that one late goal, they're taking photographs of the family, the usual type of stuff. So Daegu need to keep that run going. Another team that needs to keep the kind of run going is Gimpo. They're in seventh. They're sort of hanging on to worthy of discussion. Like I said, we're kind of bypassing a lot of the teams here, but they are just about worthy of conversation. They're still only 10 points. Amazingly, they're only 10 points off first. And they have loads of games at home to come up. The problem is that their home record is terrible. And they have run into this problem before. Back in 2024, they started with loads of away games. Season started well for them. But once they returned to Salta, they just started dropping points. And they've done a bit of that this season as well. But they're only 5 points off Hwasong in sixth. And we're talking about Hwasong as being potential champions. So being 5 points off sixth also means that they're only 6 points off third, which is just incredible, like how tight it is at the top of K-League 1. But these are the matches that Gimpo have been struggling with all season. These home matches, since they returned home, that they should be winning and they have been winning. But they were really good last weekend against Jeonbuk Cheongju. They had 3 players in the K-League 2 team of the week. Luan picked up MVP for the week. I know it doesn't mean that. They basically just give it to the players who score goals. And they scored 3 goals at the weekend. But as we've been saying, like, this is just, they're in that territory now where every win is vital for them. Any loss could just potentially just end their season. So Cheonan were unfortunate against Songnam last weekend. I think they took the lead and then fell behind. They equalised late on and then managed to lose the game in the 98th minute. Their form since the World Cup has been terrible, but they did pick up, I've already forgotten it, Willian. They picked up Willian, a very surprise move during the week from Suwon FC. So I don't expect Gimpo to win, because Gimpo just don't seem to be able to win games like this, but they have to.
Yeah. And Willian is actually a really good signing for Cheonan. I think he would get in most... He would get in most K-League 2 teams. He would actually get in a few K-League 1 teams, I think. On his day, he's a brilliant player. But he's dropped a lot since his heyday in Seoul and everything. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure why Suwon have let him go. But yeah, no, when I saw him play earlier in the season, and he's still got it. Hopefully he can make a difference at Cheonan. The final game that we're actually covering in K-League 2 this week is Seoul Eland in second and Ansan Greeners, who are in 15th. Seoul are up to second, and they could even go top this weekend if results go in their favour. That would be the first time they've been at the top of K-League 2 since early 2025. They're 5 unbeaten in the league. They've picked up good points against Suwon FC and Hwasong recently. They've had an impressive win over Busan along the way. So they are beating the teams around them. The problem is they tend to slip up, similar to Suwon Blue Wings, they slip up against the teams lower in the table. And Ansan are a team who have a surprise in them. They beat Blue Wings a few weeks ago. They've actually been in good form themselves. They've had 2 wins and a draw and only 1 defeat in the last 5 games. They like to be the cat amongst the pigeons. However, last time Ansan played in Mokdong, they lost 6-0, which is why our colleague continues to be abroad. He doesn't want to talk about this. Okay, yeah, so let's see what happens. Eland in second could go top if they get a result and other results go in their favour. Now, the final game in K-League 2 is Paju Frontier in 12th against Songnam in 10th. Obviously, Songnam had a decent result last week, was their first win in a few, but there's not really much else happening in this game. So, looking at all of those fixtures, Andrew, I assume you're going to the Suwon Derby?
Yeah, I should be. It depends on family situation with a very young baby at home, but I should be going to that game. I don't want to go to any other game this weekend, obviously. I anticipate being there. I was going to talk a little bit about this because I had an idea that you're going to bring that up, but I guess we already went into a little bit of it earlier on in the chat. The thing is, my personal record in this derby, just like the Blue Wings overall, is derisory. I think I've seen the Blue Wings lose 3-0 and 3-1 since they started playing regularly against Suwon FC. So I'd like to see a win. I'd very much like to see a win. And as I said, I do think they will find a way of scraping win this game. It just seems like one of those games that they'll get up for. The fans will be into it as well because it's derby and there's so much on the line. My unrelated, I guess, to this game, having been at the match last Friday, I kind of hope that the Blue Wings just channel their energy somewhere else and stop worrying about refereeing calls, because they felt aggrieved, and I think rightly aggrieved, with the way the Chungba Chungju game finished a couple of weeks ago. But it just feel a little bit out of place for a team like the Suwon Samsung Blue Wings, for their fan base to be complaining about officiating. And I think if you're going to have protests like this, like you see in Europe often, I think protests like that are better served for issues facing fans, like ticket prices or fixture congestion or midweek fixtures. I don't think you should be spending that sort of energy complaining about 50-50 or 51-49 calls. I just don't think it's the right look. So I really hope that they drop that kind of pre-match protest that I had against Gimhae. Just focus, everybody at the club as well, just focus on the particular result and the performance against Suwon FC. The assistant manager was booked early in the second half, and the game was still 0-0. I mean, let's not forget they were drawing with the lowest ranked team in the division. I thought the referee had a really good game on Friday, but because of what happened the previous week against Cheongnam Masan, there was a lot of calls for him to open his eyes, as you often hear this chant in Korea. Assistant manager is booked because they think they should have a penalty. From my vantage point in the north stand, it looked like a perfect tackle. It didn't go to VAR. It didn't need to go VAR. You can see all the stuff on Korea FM within a minute of the incident taking place. It was never a penalty, and for some reason we have assistant managers and coaches getting booked, calling for penalties when the team is already struggling to beat Gimhae AFC. I just think optically it's all wrong. They got it wrong. It's too emotional. They need to cut the stuff out. Just focus on winning these performances. Don't worry about your celebrations. Don't worry about your pre-match protest. Just the team and the fans just need to focus on how to do their best at the weekend and stop worrying about these other issues that are going on the side. So that's what I hope for. I hope the Suwon FC can bring a big crowd with them as well. And unlike the game last Friday between Suwon and Gimhae, I hope that the CU Mart, the stores in Big Bird, have cold beer for sale and don't start serving hot cans of beer from a fridge.
I think as well on that, like a team like Suwon Blue Wings shouldn't be relying on refereeing decisions and VAR to beat the likes of Gimhae and Cheongju. Like they have Korea, as we've mentioned, they've got Korean internationals in their squad. They've got one of the biggest budgets in K-League 2, if not the biggest budget, and they're complaining about decisions that they don't get against Cheongju. They should be 3-4-0 up at half-time against some of these teams. Like, their issue isn't with the results or with the referees, it's the fact that they're not creating and taking their chances. I mean, they're having all of this possession in every game that they play and they're doing nothing with it. I mean, maybe the fans should point out to the players that they need to be better, rather than the fact that the referees aren't giving them penalties because they can't make their own goals.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree.
It seems very hard. It seems very similar to the John Buck protests. I mean, a lot of fans at teams who are sitting a lot higher in the table take issue when they don't get results and when things don't go their way. But when you have a look at other clubs towards the bottom of these tables who never get these decisions, I think those teams have a lot more to protest about. But yeah, just quickly then, I'm off to Incheon versus Gimcheon. I've seen the previous two meetings between these two clubs. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be the final time for me to watch Gimcheon unless they do get a Citizen Club. I don't know. I've not really got much to say that I haven't said already. It's going to be an interesting game. Hopefully Incheon can win, given that we weren't playing last week. The only thing of note really is that the weather seems to be improving. The nights are not as hot as they were. It's not as sticky as it was a few weeks ago, and maybe we might start to see a bit more attacking football and a bit of faster paced football now that it's under 25 degrees and a little bit less than 100% humidity compared to the 35s that we've had recently.
I just want to call you back on something you said at the beginning of that. Are you not expecting to play Gimcheon later on this season?
I would hope that we finish in the top half still. I'm still hanging on to these, like, finishing 6th would be brilliant. I mean, I've said all along it doesn't really matter, and finishing 8th and consolidating this year would be great, but for how we've played and for the results that we've got this year, beating Jeonbuk and beating Ulsan, it would be very disappointing if results against teams below us ended up costing us. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but we actually lost to Gwangju earlier in the season.
Okay.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I might have mentioned that. But yeah, it'd be those games that end up costing us top half. And whilst the club are talking about ACL, I think that might be a bit too early.
Yeah.
But finishing in the top half would be a great season for Incheon. And I don't think there's anything to suggest that we don't have it in us. It's just going to take a little bit of luck, and it's going to take some concentrated performances. So we'll see.
So at the moment, Incheon are 7th with a game in hand. They're only 1 point behind Anyang, who occupied that last spot in final A. That game is against Gangwon away, though, which is obviously difficult. Actually, the time to play Gangwon might have been last weekend. There's always the feeling that perhaps they can just kind of turn that form around by the time. Do you have any idea when that game is going to be replayed? Has it been announced?
It's going to be played the Sunday after Chuseok, because I was really excited because I wasn't able to go last weekend because I was away, but then they moved it and I was like, yes, I can go. And then they moved it to the weekend that I'm in Bali.
Right.
So yeah, I can't go.
Yeah,
that's going to end up being the only stadium in K1 on the mainland that I've not been to, because I've just booked my tickets for Ulsan. So next year I'm going to have to go to Gangwon, I'm going to have to go to Jeju, and then I've completed K-League 1.
Yeah, I haven't been to that stadium. I've been to the other stadium several times, the one in Chuncheon. I don't like the stadium, but I love the location, and I love Chuncheon. I've never been to Gangneung either, so my footballogy K-League 1 thing is just annoyingly has a grey line across it, which is Gangwon FC at home, and I was half thinking of going out to that Gamba Osaka game in the Asian Champions League yesterday, but I think it was on today. It was on a Wednesday. It would have been easier to get to, but a Tuesday, it just wasn't going to be doable. But the thing is, of course, if you go to that stadium as well, you end up getting Gangneung FC K3 or K4, so you'll end up getting a couple of ticks in for that stadium next time you look at your footballogy stats, which is always crucial. But yeah, it's annoying. I have the same problem in K-League 2 now with Gimhae, since Gimhae joined. The Blue Wings played there too early in the season. My family was over, so I never got to go down to that. So both leagues, K-League 1 and K-League 2, have a stadium I haven't been to yet, and I really need to get those.
It's frustrating.
It is. And the country's so small, and it's so easy to get to Gangneung, but there's just other things to do than footballogy.
I made a concerted effort to get to as many away games as I could last year, and I only missed Busan.
Yeah.
Because I was away. And it was good because we were playing some teams away twice, so I got to go to Cheonan City twice.
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah. But it's like I knew that Incheon might end up just being 1 year done in K-League 2, but then they added 3 more teams anyway, so I've not been to Yongin, I've not been to Paju, I've not been to Gimhae, I've not been to Busan. So hopefully we get them in an away game in the cup at some point.
Yeah, in order for that to happen, both of our teams need to get past the first round that they participate in, obviously. I was looking forward to a third round FA Cup tie at home to Ansan Greeners for a nice Wednesday night trip down to Big Bird, and yet both of those sides got knocked out by lower league opposition. Anyway, that's the Korea Cup. That returns next week, Wednesday, by the way, so I'll probably give a nod to that on next week's show. There's only one all K-League 1 tie, though. There's a lot of K1 versus K3, K1 versus K4, and of course K2 versus K2 too. So we'll talk about that next week. I think that's it for this week. Enjoy the Chon Derby this weekend from Sungwoo Arena, and from myself, Andrew, and
thank you
from the tanning bed. We will talk to you again next week.
It's natural. It's all natural. Until I take a shower at the weekend and it washes off. All right, okay. Like, share, subscribe at Below the 38th on social media, below the 38thcareer.com. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.